we have a brand new notion for you that solves a bit of what I would say a chore. Many quilt blocks have what's called half square triangles in them. Specifically, the projects behind me, these are some table runners and lap quilts that we did with our hydrangeas in the garden collection, where you can see it's a combination of a fussy cut beautiful floral block, and we have some half square triangles here that sewn together form a beautiful pinwheel. And granted, we do have some other things like flying geese, but here we are again in the corners with our half square triangles. So each block here is 8 total half square triangles, and for the table runner it's 24 total because I've got 3 blocks. In my lap quilt here, where I have many more blocks, I have 144 half square triangles. And I remember the way I learned to make half square triangles was the rule of 7/8, adding 7/8 to my finished size, in this case 2 7/8, fabrics cut, hopefully accurately, draw the line, tracking 1/4 inch on either side, sewing, and then cutting and pressing and hoping at that point they measured 2.5 and sewn into my block for 2 inches, making 2 at a time. That's already a lot of work, and I think that's what chases some people away. This is why Shabby Fabrics created a product called HST Perfect. These are HST is half square triangle, and the word perfect is that. We don't use that word casually. When you use papers such as the HST Perfect Papers, here's what I love. It tells you exactly what size to cut your fabrics to. You get to sew on dash lines, cutting on solid lines, helping you dial in that precision absolutely every single time. Completely user friendly. We're going to do this together, and you can see you're not going to want to make these any other way. We get to make 8 at a time instead of the traditional way of only 2 at a time, and often not that great. So here's how this works. And as you can see, we have a variety of sizes depending on the project you're doing. Something as small as cute little 1 inch finished half square triangles, 1.5, 2, which we'll be doing today. And these are finished sizes. So 2 inch finish, meaning 2.5 inches unfinished going into that project. We have 3, 3.5, and all the way up to 4. And I love that they're in a pad of paper here. These are the ones that we're currently working on right now. Simply lift up the cover, remove your sheet, and close that lid. The papers stay nice and clean and organized, and they're off in your sewing room for safekeeping when you want to be doing a scrap project or maybe something just like this. This is the hydrangeas in the garden collection that we have done with Riley Blake, cute table runners, lap quilts, and a lot of other projects as well. But getting back to the HST Perfect Papers, here's the other thing I love. This tells us exactly what to do. Number 1, shorten stitch length to 1.5 millimeters. By default, most sewing machines are at a 2.5. I'm going to bring that back to a 1.5 right now. And what that's going to do for me is help perforate that paper and give me more thread in a given distance, so when I remove those papers, everything's good and stable. So I've pulled that back. Layer 2 6.5 by 6.5 inch squares, right side together. Okay, let's do that. I have that. I actually used the purple one today because I'm showing you one of the things that we already put together of what that just came to get boom. And you know that once I layer these together and put the paper on, we'll be able to make 2 of those blocks. That's pretty cool and in very short order. All right, getting back to the paper. Layer 2 6.5 by 6.5 squares, right side together. Pin paper on top. Okay. So on dash lines, cut on solid lines. All right, let's go ahead and pin those together. So knowing that we're going to be sewing on our dash line, I'm going to make sure that my pins are out of the way. So I'm pinning kind of in these open areas. One more. I probably pinned a little more than I needed to, but that's okay. I'd rather be safe than sorry. Pin paper on top, sew on dash lines, cut on solid lines. Wow, very straightforward. Okay, let's go ahead and we're going to sew exactly as they say on our dash lines, and later on we'll cut on our solid lines. Okay, so now, just like our paper is telling us, we're going to cut exactly on all of our solid lines. Works great with a spinning mat. But the idea of knowing that these are going to be perfect, I don't have to square them up. That was the other thing I was doing before something like this, is I was trying to oversize mine. Instead of the rule of 7/8, I would add a full inch, so now they were oversized, but then I was squaring them up. And yes, they came out pretty good, but it was very, very time consuming making 2 at a time, oversized, and now having to square up. And especially if you're making very small half square triangles, squaring up when your fabric is that small can be a little dangerous, getting your fingers that close to a rotary cutter. So I just want to show you that in short order, and we've been doing this in real time together. How fast this comes together, and the accuracy is perfection. That's it. And that is something that is very difficult to achieve with a traditional approach where they're not all going to be great. And you might have limited fabric in a kit. We all have limited fabric in a kit. Simply remove your papers. And in this instance, especially if you're going to be doing something like this pinwheel, just plan on pressing your fabrics all to that same specific color, whatever that is. In this case, it's the purple. I'll press to the outside, let that sit there. I might be removing my papers from my next piece, right? Kind of working a little bit of an assembly line. Once you have that pressed nice and flat, let's just do a quick measurement check here. I've got my ruler here. This happens to be 2.5. Look at this. This ruler's 2.5, and that's 2.5. Absolutely accurate every single time. Thus, HST Perfect. We meant it. We meant it. We don't use that word very often at all, right? Because most things are close, but not necessarily perfect. But these papers make it so fun. So if blocks like this, if you've avoided making pinwheels, you're now going to want to make pinwheels. Blocks like this that you may have avoided in the past, you're going to want to make things like that. And this is perfect, by the way, for scrap quilts. Maybe you have small pieces of fabric left over and you just want to kind of reminisce, right? 2 fabrics, 6.5 inches square, right side together, and you have 8 half square triangles. Do it again with more fabrics. Put them all together as just half square triangles or pinwheels. It's kind of a memorabilia quilt, right? So HST Perfect, this is absolutely what's upstairs in our sewing room right now. It's going to be in my sewing room, and it needs to be in your sewing room. Because the thing we can't get back is time. I don't want to spend my time seam ripping. I don't want to make 2 half square triangles at a time and hope they're right. I want to make 8 at a time and know they're right. So head to the Shabby website right now to pick up your HST Perfect papers in your favorite sizes, and let your sewing group know about this brand new Notion exclusive label from Shabby Fabrics.